Hey, welcome back to Tim Talks. Today we are talking Kung Pao chicken keto style. Check this out. You're gonna love this recipe. It's a little complicated, a lot of steps, but actually fairly simple once you put the stuff together. I love Chinese food, and you know what? I got really kind of tired of going to bad Chinese restaurants around here. I live in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and so we don't always have the best selection of ethnic foods, although there is sometimes a selection. Anyway, I decided to figure out how to make some of my Chinese favorites by doing what? Watching chefs and other cooks on YouTube. And so I put together this recipe for Kung Pao chicken that I think you're really going to like from a number of other recipes. Let's get to it. What you see here are the ingredients for the chicken marinade that is going to start off the whole recipe. This is so delicious. The thing about doing Chinese dishes is that you've got to have exactly the right ingredients or you're not going to get exactly the right taste. Here we've got this is about 1.5 pounds, I think a little bit more, of cubed chicken breast. You could use chicken thighs, of course, if you like. Many Chinese restaurants do. Some people prefer chicken thighs. I prefer chicken breast in this dish. You can see I've got it cut into about a 1-inch cube there. I'm going to add to it, I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper here, a 1/2 teaspoon each of kosher salt, and stevia. And of course you could use sugar if you're not on the keto diet. I'm making a low-carb version here. I'm just going to dump that on in there. Next we've got 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce. And there are 2 kinds of soy sauce. There's dark and light. And I actually bought this on Amazon because in my area it's kind of hard to get specific ingredients sometimes. I've also got here a teaspoon of Shaoxing wine. You could also use sherry, not cooking sherry, but real sherry. Sherry that you would drink that's delicious. It really smells a lot like sherry. We're also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of roasted sesame oil. Very fragrant and delicious. We're going to put that on in there. I'm going to get all of that, of course, if we can. And I'm also going to add here, put my spatula off to the side, I'm also going to add here the white of an egg. So here I'm going to separate that out. Save the yolk for custard or something later. And let's give that a little beating, just to break it up a little bit. You can see it's kind of all one unit there. Now we're going to break that up. Dump that on in there. This is actually going to help tenderize the chicken. And we're going to give this a nice stir. And I'm going to let this marinate for a good, well, at least 10 minutes. I'm going to give it probably a good half an hour here. And once I get all the ingredients incorporated, we'll be able to move on to the next step. Okay, next step. What we're going to do here is we're going to make the Kung Pao sauce. This is such a delicious sauce, and as you can see, it has a number of different ingredients. And again, it seems complex, and it is complex. The flavors are delicious and blooming and unusual for especially an American palate. And it's just made up of a number of really delicious things. I'm going to start off here with what I've got is a tablespoon of dark soy sauce. Just going to pour that in. Next, a tablespoon of Shaoxing wine. Again, you could use sherry if you like, or white wine if you have that on hand. Next, I've got here a tablespoon of white vinegar. This is 2 tablespoons, maybe like 3 tablespoons of homemade chicken broth. Put that in there. You could use vegetable stock as well if you like. A tablespoon of this is powdered stevia. You could use any sweetener you like, of course, even sugar if you're not on the keto diet. This is a teaspoon of roasted sesame oil. Just down in there. And then finally we're going to add a tablespoon, this is probably a tablespoon and a half, of chili garlic paste. And that is a delicious product we're going to put in there called sambal welek. Anyway, there we go. We're just going to mix that up here with my handy dandy whisk. Give it a stir. There we go. It's fairly typical in my experience of Chinese cooking to cook the meat first at least part of the way, and that's what we're going to do with our chicken now that it's marinated for 30 minutes here. What I've got, what you see in front of you, is a nice big 12-inch skillet that I'm heating up with some oil in it. And I'm going to let that get nice and hot. I think you can see it shimmer there. And I'm going to make sure it's hot enough to add the rest of the chicken. We're going to sear this chicken up. We're going to cook it about halfway. No, it's not quite. We're getting there. That's not quite what we're looking for yet. We really want this pan to be nice and hot because when we have this chicken in there, it's going to lower the temperature of the pan momentarily, and we're going to end up steaming our chicken rather than searing it and kind of sealing it in. We're really developing the sugars on the outside of the chicken. That's starting to get about where I want. You see it sizzling there. That looks pretty good to me. Let's get our chicken in there. We're going to fry this up until all the pieces are about halfway, 3/4 of the way cooked. I think you can see here that we're getting just about to the point where our pre-cooking is complete. What we're looking for is pretty much just what we've got here. We want all the pieces to have turned white on the outside. We don't want to cook them all the way through. Here you can see by just looking at some of them, there's pink right very nearby underneath the surface of that cooked meat. So I'm going to stir it around a little bit more. And that's really about what I want. You can also tell how done they are by how solid they feel by touching them. Don't be afraid to touch your food, and you might want to be careful not to burn yourself, but that was really a fairly hot place in the pan up there. And that's looking pretty good to me. I'm going to turn the heat off. And now let's get to our stir fry. Before we get started cooking, I'd like to show you the rest of the ingredients that we're going to be using to make our Kung Pao chicken. We're going to start here with about a teaspoon of Szechuan peppercorns. These are whole Szechuan peppercorns. They add kind of a heat, sort of a tongue-numbing effect that's really typical of this dish and of Szechuan cooking. Here we also have one red bell pepper and one green bell pepper diced in about 3/4 inch dice there, more or less, roughly the same size. Also got about a cup of peanuts. Here I like a lot of peanuts. These are roasted peanuts that have some salt on them. These are great in this dish, and we're going to use those. Again, I like a lot of them, that's why I've got a cup. This is about 2 tablespoons of ginger garlic paste, so that'd be about a tablespoon each of minced ginger and minced garlic. I have it blended together here. I keep it in the freezer all the time. I've got 3 scallions that I've sliced, as you can see, on the diagonal. I've also got 10 red Szechuan dried chilies here that I've de-seeded by cutting the stem end off and shaking the seeds out. Some of them anyway, you can see some of them are in there. And I've also cut them into small pieces so they will, so the texture won't be disturbing in the dish at all. I've also got 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum to thicken up our sauce when we get to the end of the thing. And then as a garnish, we'll be using some sesame oil, some of this beautiful brown roasted sesame oil that's so fragrant. Let's get to our wok and let's get started. I'll be using a 14-cup stainless steel electric wok for this dish. I really like this device because it has a very precise temperature regulation. I'm heating it up right now to 225 degrees for the first step, which is going to be to flavor our oil. I'll be using coconut oil in this recipe. It's a good oil for keto, for the keto diet. It's tasty as well, and it also takes some pretty high heat. Our dish is not going to end up tasting like coconut in the end, by the way, if you're wondering. You may use any kind of oil that you prefer. I think it's pretty typical to use peanut or canola oil or something like that. Here again, what we're going to do, we're going to take this teaspoon of whole Szechuan peppercorns, and we're going to put them in there. You can see they're bubbling up a little bit. I'm going to let those go for exactly 1 minute. I can set my timer. I don't want to overdo it, but I want to make sure I flavor the oil properly. Oh, that is fragrant and delicious. What a beautiful smell. We're not going to leave those in the dish though. I'm actually going to drain that out, strain them out. Once we get that going, you can see it's smoking just a little bit already at 225. This is really going to add a very distinctive flavor to our dish, and it's one of the things that if you've attempted to make Chinese food at home before and you don't have these, this is one of the reasons why it doesn't taste the same way as in the restaurant. You've got to get this product. And there's my timer. Stop that. I'm just going to strain this out really quick. We're going to use that oil and get all of those that we can. They have a kind of an unpleasant texture. Strain into this bowl off to the side. Make sure I get them all out. Okay. We'll discard those, and we're going to put this oil back in here and turn the heat up to 350. Okay. You see that's starting to sizzle already. I'm going to add just a little bit more oil to this. And let that melt and heat up well. We want the oil to be really hot because what we're going to do is we're going to sear these peppers and we're going to get a little color on them, actually. You can see that's starting to smoke, and you know what, let's just check it by tossing in one. There we go, there's that sizzle we want to hear. They're all there. We're going to make these dance with that heat. There we go. And there we go, we'll make sure everything gets coated with oil. This actually is going to go fairly quickly. You know, when you're cooking Chinese food, you want to make sure every time that you have all of the ingredients ready to go when you begin to stir fry, because when you start this process, you cannot stop to chop a clove of garlic or to get out a little more ginger or something. You've got to have your mise en place. And that is not a joke. You're just going to stir around. I want to leave them down there a little bit. You can see some of them get a little blistered. That's what we want. You can really smell these Szechuan peppercorns in there. It's really delicious smelling. And of course, now the peppers are very fragrant. So let them go for a little while. And a lot of cooking is a little bit of patience. In this case, it's not going to take a lot of patience because you're going to be amazed at how quickly this dish gets finished. Give it a stir a while longer. Yeah, that's looking pretty good to me. So now we're ready for our peanuts. Peanuts are already roasted, but here we're going to fry them up. And they're also going to get a little color on them. Let that go for a while. Again, to do that, and here you can see how that's blackened there. That's exactly what we want. Yes, I'm getting some blackening on the bottom of the pan. That's all right. That's not a problem. And now the peanuts are becoming very fragrant. And you can see some of them get a little dark mark on them. That's all the more flavor. We're going to push this stuff off to the sides where it's a little cooler in the pan. And now we're going to add our aromatic ingredients. We're going to start off with our ginger and garlic paste. Again, this is about 2 tablespoons of that. Let's put that right in the middle. much of that out of there as we can. I'm also going to add my green onions, and we're going to give them a quick stir. About 30 seconds later, again, we don't want to give this too much time. We're going to add in our dried Szechuan chili peppers that have been cut into thin strips. And next, we're ready for that beautiful chicken. All right, as you can see, we're cooking away here, looking good. Now it's time to add that chicken that we pre-cooked right on in that pan. And now check that out. And I'll tell you what, next time you go to any carry-out Chinese restaurant, anywhere I'll just go ahead and say it, anywhere in the world, I'm going to tell you what, you are not going to get that much beautiful chicken breast or chicken thigh in your meal. Look at that. That is just so beautiful. And the next thing we're going to add here, we just want to kind of get that mixed up. Next, we're going to add our Kung Pao sauce. I'm going to give it a bit of a stir. Pour that over all of this. And then we're going to put on our lid, turn it down a little bit, and I'm going to set the timer for exactly 2 minutes. When we're done with that, we'll come back, I'll thicken that sauce up a little bit, we'll garnish it, and we'll see what it looks like on the plate. Okay, our 2 minutes is up. Look at that beautiful, look at how gorgeous that is, right? And man, it smells incredible in here. When you do this at home, you will not believe it. Let's thicken that up a little bit. I've got 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum here. I'm just going to sprinkle all over that. Mix it in. This will tighten that up right now, as you'll see. And it's going to do that with very few carbs. Again, our goal here is to make this low-carb version so that this can be enjoyed by people on the keto diet and other low-carb diets. If you're diabetic, this will also make this dish much more amenable to your dietary needs. And there we have it. I'm going to turn the heat off and let's get ready to plate this up. And now here you go, my friend. This is the dish. We're going to zoom in on that. I'm going to garnish that with just a drizzle of pure sesame oil. That is just delicious there. Have a look at that steaming away. Isn't that lovely? I can't wait to give this a taste. Okay, and there you have it. That's pretty much the dish. And look at that beautiful thing. Here, I'm going to tell you what. Let's take a bite, see how it is. So good. Anyway, thanks for checking us out here today on Tim Talks. Don't forget to subscribe and comment and like and especially share. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.